Yo guys, what is good? This is Anthony from Avant Samples, and I'm very stoked to be back with another dubstep pack for you all today. This time, we're bringing you guys a dubstep add-on pack, Avant Dubstep MIDI 01. Dubstep MIDI 1 comes with 71 MIDI files as well as 96 melody loops to bring powerful and professional melodies to your dubstep production. With melodies to fit any of the many modern styles of dubstep, this pack will help you craft amazing melodic elements for your guys' tracks. So today we'll be hopping into the pack to show you guys what it has to offer, as well as a little tutorial on how we would use these MIDIs and melodies within our production. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so here we are in FL Studio. Over here on the left side, I have the Avant Samples Dubstep MIDI 01 pack open. This pack is, of course, compatible with any DAW, whether you're in FL Studio, Ableton, Logic, or any other DAW that accepts MIDI files or waves, which are pretty much all of them. We make sure to make it compatible with anything that you might be in. And you can see here we have over 25 melodies built out. Within these 25 melodies, you have access to every single layer within the melody. So if we look in the loops, we have all the waves here, and then we also have all the MIDI files from those different layers. So let me go ahead and expand this out so we can read it. You can see here that we have the ARP, atmosphere, sub-bass, and then the loop. And then what the loop is it's the full loop with everything together. So you guys can obviously just drag this loop into your track if you want a really, really quick melody. But this is also a good reference on, what this full melody will sound like built out if you guys ever want to kind of preview them as you're working on a track. As you guys can see as well, we have the key in the main file here so that when you guys are producing a track, you can just reference the key of your track and then quickly hop into here to find a melody that fits with the key. But with access to the MIDI, you'll also be able to change the key, right? So if you hear a melody that you really, really like and it's not quite in key with the track that you're working on, you have the MIDI files so that you'll be able to just kind of change the key of the MIDI files and then still have the overall melody written, and then you can make that melody fit within key of your track. So let's go ahead and start going through some of these here. I'm going to just be playing out the loops, but let's show you guys the differences of the layers. So let's play this first loop. So that's just obviously a small preview. FL doesn't play the whole thing when previewing files. But then if we go ahead and drag our sub bass in, our atmosphere, and our ARP, and we layer them all, you get the full produced out melody. So not only do we have these really, really great melodies built out for you, but you guys have access to all the different stems. So whether you want to just drag in the individual stems from the wave files and use those with the sounds that we've picked, you also have access to the MIDI. So if you were to drag any of these over here, let's go ahead and make a new pattern. And let's go ahead and just insert a serum in here. And then if we drag any of these MIDIs onto this serum, you'll see that the MIDI file shows up. So now inside of our piano roll, we have the ARP from this melody. And then same thing with the atmosphere and the sub bass. So it's really, really great to have all these files broken out for you. You can obviously, use these ARPs and atmospheres and sub basses together to have the exact melody that we made, or you guys can just take individual MIDIs and incorporate them with your pre-existing melodies that you have in the track, or write your own stuff, right? And all of these are, of course, royalty free, so you're able to use them exactly as they are, or use them as kind of a tool to come up with a fresh idea and write your own sounds that are a bit more unique to you as an artist and yourself. So it's really up to you what you guys want to do with them. It's fantastic to have all these melodies laid out here. So let's go ahead and actually go through what everything contains. For all of these, I'm just going to be playing the loop so that you guys can get an understanding of the full built out melody. But remember, for each and every one of these, we have these individual files with the MIDI and the waves together so that you have access to all of them for each one of these. I won't be playing every one. It would be a bit too long, but I'll just play the loops. And once again, you guys have all these individual stems and MIDI available. So let's go ahead and listen to them. So yeah, as you guys can hear, we have a lot of different styles and vibes through these. So whether you're making like heavier, darker tear out, or you're making like more melodic stuff, there's something in here for everything, right? And these melodies are really, really adaptable to different sounds and not genres so much, but different styles of dubstep, right? We made them to be able to accommodate kind of each different dubstep producer, right? So no matter what you make, there's something in here for you. And that's what we really, really wanted to accomplish with this. And then, you know, also the fact that you guys have the MIDIs, these aren't, you know, exclusively made for dubstep. You know what I mean? So obviously the loops are rendered at like 140 to 150 BPM, which is typically the BPM of dubstep. You also have the MIDI, which, you know, will automatically calculate to whatever BPM you have your DAW set to, right? So even if you're not a dubstep producer, these could be used very easily for trap producers and rap producers and house producers, whatever you produce. These are just MIDI files, right? So it's really, really nice to have these, and we always try to keep these add-on packs really, really affordable. So this full pack is now out on our website, so definitely check it out in the description below. I want to hop into a bit of a tutorial here on how I would use one of these to, you know, build out an intro or a break to a dubstep track. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So what I have here is one of the project files that is included with Avant Dubstep 01, which is our full dubstep pack. We have a bunch of project files and really insane sounds. So all of these sounds that you're hearing, as well as this project file, is available in that pack if you guys want to check it out. But what I've just done is I've grabbed this project file here to kind of show you guys that typically I start my production with, you know, the drop. That's where I start in the sound design. I build that out, and then I like to really mold my intros and breaks around that drop. We have this drop here. Let's take a listen to it. Really nice kind of heavy dubstep, brostep, tear out sound. And I want to build a melody to this. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of our melodies. So just because I know how this song was produced, I know that it's most likely in the key of like E or D. What I typically like to do with using a pack like this is I'll just start with the loop, right? So I'll find something here, D minor, should be in key with this song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this back a good bit here, and I'm going to drag in a loop. What I'm going to try to do here is I just kind of want to listen to how it sounds going right into the drop, if that makes sense. So I want to just kind of play the melody, and then I want to listen go into the drop, and I want to make sure that there's some sort of flow. Like obviously we have to build that flow with the buildup, but and build that transition with the buildup. But I just want to make sure that just right off the bat with a hard cut, it kind of sounds good, right? So let's listen to it. So honestly, just right off the bat, this first one sounds pretty solid. It kind of flowed in. It sounded okay. It didn't sound bad or anything like that. And we can definitely make that work with a proper build-up transition. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and move this out a bit more. So now that I've listened to that loop and I know that it sounds good together, they kind of have some sort of flow, I want to go ahead and go into the MIDI for that. I'm going to go ahead and pull these different MIDI layers. So let's go ahead and make a new pattern. We have that original serum that we threw in that I was kind of showing you, so we'll just start there. Let's go into the MIDI. It looks like we have an ARP, an atmosphere, and a sub bass. So I'm just going to make 3 different serums, and I'm going to drag each one into their own respective layer. Obviously, with just the init serum sounds, it doesn't sound too good. So let's go ahead and start working with the sub bass, which is going to be this layer here. And what I want to do is I just want to find a Reese preset. So I'm going to go ahead and find one. So I have a pretty basic Reese pad here. The Reese sub basses are something that's really, really characteristic in that dubstep and rhythm sound. It has that nice low end that you want, but you also have some moving tonalities with it being a Reese bass. So let's listen to what this sounds like. Yeah, and that sounds great just right off the rip. Don't really need to do much processing to it. So now we have this next sound. So I remember that this sound was kind of the atmosphere. So what I'd like to do for this one is I'm going to actually use Nexus. And I want to find like kind of a cool, airy pad to just add some nice atmosphere in the background. So let's go ahead to Epic Pads. I'm going to take a listen through some of these. So that's sounding good. I'm going to turn on my cutoff and bring it down a little bit. We don't really want it to be at the forefront of the mix, just kind of a nice atmosphere that you hear kind of twinkling in the background, right? So let's go ahead and work on our pluck here. So I want kind of a nice gritty synth over the top. And what a lot of people I feel like don't remember is the stock presets that come with Serum are actually really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the leads and just the stock presets of Serum, and I'm going to find one that I think fits with this sound. So that's sounding really, really good right there. But what I want to do is, that's kind of more like a plucky sound. I also just want kind of like a lead saw in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and clone that layer. And I'm going to put another background layer to this lead here. And just like that, with pretty much all stock sounds and no original sound design, we have a really, really good sounding lead. And so obviously we can come in here and we can change the key, we can change all the notes because we have that raw MIDI file, but I think this sounds really, really good as it is. So let's go ahead and start building this out. Okay, so now we have all the individual layers. I'm gonna go ahead and lay them out here. So that's sounding pretty solid. What I want to go ahead and do now is start introducing a bit of progression. So I'm going to go ahead and reference back to our Avant Dubstep pack here and grab some FX. Let's grab an impact. Let's go ahead and grab that one. I want to bring some of this transient out in the beginning. And then what I want to do is I probably only want to have the respace going here at the beginning. So obviously I'm not going to write an entire intro during this video. It would be way too long of a video. So I'm going to just kind of show you guys the basic progression and how I'd kind of use these to start introing our drop here. So I'd want just probably like the sub bass and atmosphere playing in the beginning. I'd probably want to add another like riser here to kind of introduce these sounds. So you guys kind of see how we have a natural flow of progression going, right? Where we just have this sub bass and atmosphere, then we're introducing another melody, and then we're introducing everything. And you want to make sure to be using FX to introduce each one of these elements before we break into the buildup and break into the drop. So, and then let's take some of the drums from the drop that we have here and throw them over the top of this and see what that would sound like. And right here is where we kind of want to start introing the buildup, right? And right here is where I want probably like a big impact. Once again, I'm not going to write all this out flawlessly, just giving you guys an example. And then let's go ahead and do a quick 8-bar buildup. So what I'd like to go ahead and do now is let's drag everything down. Let's go ahead and drag all these melodic elements up to the top so we have a bit of room to write a buildup underneath this. So what I'd like to do is I usually like to use the first bar and kind of start repeating it just to start building my really basic buildup. And what we're trying to do is build repetition here and build kind of hype, right? And the way we can easily do that is just by looping these sounds. So let's just start by looping and see what that sounds like. Honestly, we could even probably do it a bit more. Let's cut this in half again. And you can already hear that we're kind of getting that, you know, hype build-up element in. So what we're kind of doing, as you guys can see, is we're transitioning from this really, really complicated melody in this space here, and we're kind of toning it down, right? We're bringing out a lot of the variation in the melody, and then for the final 4 bars, we're just having one note repeat, right? And you're gonna kind of already tell a difference between what it sounded like before to now. So let's go ahead and take a listen. So we already start to have that kind of hype, and that transition now from the intro and the melody even to the drop is just a lot more cohesive, even without any automation. So I want to just start building out those repeating kicks now and using the kicks to kind of build up hype. Honestly, this is still a bit too long. I think I just made this a bit too long. So we'll just cut the whole thing in half, essentially. And now let's go ahead and drag all this back. Okay, perfect. So now we have now this is, I believe, just an 8-bar build, but it does the job. So now we're just going to make this progress a little bit quicker. So for this next bar, I want to have them on each one of these notes. And then for the bar after this, we want it to be really, really fast. And we might actually kind of start hearing these kicks clipping a little bit, but we're going to work on that. So you guys can kind of hear we're slowly building hype with these kicks and these loops now. So it's starting to really, really sound like a more cohesive buildup. And so what we'll want to do is we'll just want to do the same thing with these kicks here, copy and paste them out, and then one more. Beautiful. So now let's take a listen to see what that sounds like. So, And just like that, we have, you know, a decent transition. Now, I'll probably make a more cohesive, longer tutorial where we're actually building out an entire intro to a song, as opposed to just kind of giving you guys a quick reference. But what I would pretty much do from here is I'd add a few more risers, and I would start doing a ton of different automation to different sounds within these. I'd also want to do something similar with the snare and the clap, kind of following this progressing looped pattern with the kicks. I'd want the claps or the snare doing something very, very similar, and then I would start doing a ton of automation to these sounds. If you just think of a general transition, right, you want to transition from a certain style or vibe to a different one. And the way I'd want to do that is at the beginning of the transition, you want the first element to be the main characteristic, the lead element, right? And in the second bit, you'd want the second lead characteristic element to be at the top, right, by the end of it. So what I'd kind of want to do is I'd want to fade from the melodic elements. I'd want to fade those out using cutoff and reverb and different kinds of automation like that. Maybe some pitching them up, adding some detune to them. And then by the end, this main first element, being our melodies, is going to be kind of a non-existent, right? By this point, I want those melodies to be pretty non-existent. And then I want the lead drop synths to be, you know, at the forefront. So you can kind of see how I'm doing that with this automation here, as I'm starting and our cutoff is all the way down for our synths, and at the end of it, it's all the way up. And I would kind of match this pattern, but opposite with the melody. So at the beginning here, the melody would be all the way up, and then by the end, the melodies are all the way down. Just using, you can do it basic in a basic way with just volume, or you can do it in a more complex way with cutoffs and reverb automation and you know, pitch automation, detune, a bunch of different things. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to make another video that's a lot longer, just focusing on building an intro and a build up using these melody sounds. So like I said, guys, this pack is out now on our website. It's a fantastic tool for dubstep producers of any skill range to have to quickly implement melodies and midis into their tracks. You can see just, you know, in what, 10-15 minutes, we were able to write kind of a cool start to an intro using these melodies and bring them into a full drop. So it's a really, really powerful pack to have. I'm really, really enjoying using it, and I hope you guys do too. So definitely grab it in the link below, and I look forward to hearing what you guys think of it. All right, see you guys next time. Peace.